In debating, you'll often hear people talking about a model. But what does a model actually mean? A model is just a simple plan. It's how your team wants to make the topic actually happen in the real world. You're simply saying, how would we do this? Let's look at an example. If the topic is that we should cut taxes, the first speaker for the affirmative team tells us what types of taxes they're going to cut, how big the tax cuts should be, for who the tax cuts would apply, and how it would work. Maybe they say, we're going to cut income tax for low-income workers earning less than $20,000 a year by 50%. That's a model. It's a short explanation that helps the audience and the adjudicator understand how you're going to implement the policy in real life. A good model doesn't need to go into crazy detail. In fact, simple models are often better. The point is just to give a clear idea about the change that you want, not to create a detailed and sophisticated government plan about how it's going to be implemented. For example, in the topic that we should ban junk food advertisements aimed at children, the affirmative team might say, we will pass a law that bans all TV, internet and billboard ads for junk food during children's programming and on websites and apps that are popular with children under the age of 13. The negative is allowed to introduce what's called a countermodel. This is how they would solve the solution in a way that is different to the affirmative team. The negative team in this debate might say, instead of banning ads, we're going to require junk food ads to include clear health warnings like high in sugar or not for everyday eating, and we would also run a government-funded healthy eating campaign during those same ad breaks. Here are 4 things to keep in mind when you're making a model. First of all, think about who we is in the topic. In most topics, we probably means the government. If the topic is about cutting taxes in Australia, we is probably the federal government because the federal government are responsible for most taxation matters. If it's about investing in hospitals in South Australia, we probably means the South Australian state government. The second thing is that you should think about what your actor can actually do. If the debate is about changing bin collection days in your local council and the affirmative team says the council can now use, under our model, billion-dollar drones to collect bins, that's obviously not very realistic. Councils don't have that kind of money. Your model needs to be something your actor could actually do. Third of all, keep your model mutually exclusive. This means your model should aim to do something the other team is not allowed to do under a fair interpretation of the topic. Fourth, don't overcomplicate things. You don't need 10 different prongs to your model. 1, 2, maybe at most 3 prongs to your model is often enough. Finally, let's talk about something called fiat. That's just a fancy word for a very simple idea. In debates, we pretend that your model can be done as long as it makes sense. We say that the affirmative team has fiat to implement the policy. Let's look at the topic that the school day should start at 11 a.m. The negative team can't just say, that would never happen, schools would never agree to it. That's not a fair argument, because the topic already assumes that it could happen. The affirmative team has fiat to assume that it would pass through the parliament. What the negative team should instead say is that this would make it hard for parents to work and students would finish school too late in the day.